You're listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life, hosted by TravCon.
Hey Nomads, welcome to another episode of Travel Nursing and Allied Life. I'm your host today, Dr. Dylan Callier, physical therapist, also on the TravCon committee. Today we are doing our annual podcast talking about the allied professions and our total space that we are taking up at TravCon every year as we slowly take over the whole conference. Or at least that is what my aspiration is. That is a big part of what I do here at TravCon, is to help grow our allied representation, to include more information, more inclusivity to us as allied professions. So we are going to be talking about TravCon 2023 and the kind of the total makeup and who is attending TravCon the most for our allied professions. Pretty much allied is everybody outside of nursing and the medical field, specifically MDs, PharmDs, PAs, and Ps, those kind of things. When you're jumping into travel, you don't really hear the term allied, but it is a term that a lot of staffing agencies use to kind of lump all of the non-nursing folks into a category. And so that's where it comes from, allied. Last year for the previous conference, 2022, our allied representation was around 12.5%. So 12.6% of the total conference was allied professionals. And we'll get into the individual professions. And we did see a growth this year in the allied representation. I am calculating it a little bit differently this year to include some other non-nursing professions. But using the same calculations as last year, we have increased all the way to just over 16%, so 16.3% for 2023 TravCon, using the same calculations that I used a year ago. Including those additional professions that we'll be talking about, our total percentage for TravCon 2023 for allied representation was 17.2%. Now, as we go through these numbers, what you'll see is that some of the professions kind of stayed the same, some even declined a little bit, and some really increased. We did have a slightly smaller conference for 2023 compared to 2022. Just with the overall market of things and how things ebb and flow, the pendulum swings. And even though that there was a slight decrease in the total attendance, allied continues to take more and more of that space. So that's why you're seeing the greater percentages year after year. Allied used to grow almost double every year. We are starting to kind of have years where we slow down just a little bit, but then we'll have a year like 2023 where we really jump up high, all the way from about 12.5% to 16 to 17%. So starting at the least attendance and working our way up to see who is number one this year, we have pharmacy techs at number 4. Last year, you guys were around 5, so sticking around that 5 clinician level for those that are attending the conference. Slightly above that, we have speech-language pathologists around 5. Last year in 2022, we were just shy of around 10. And this time of year, September, if you're working school contracts, it's really hard to get time off that soon once a school contract starts. So typically our SLP numbers tend to kind of stick around in that 10 or below range, and hopefully we will see that increase eventually. Clinical lab specialists, you all are at 14 for the year of 2023 at TravCon. Last year, around the same number, just shy of 15 as well. So sticking around that same number for clinical lab specialists. For respiratory therapists, you guys did see a decrease this year. Previously was at 25 in 2022. And this year we're at 17. So there was a little bit of a decrease in respiratory therapy. Could it be that as we get further out from 2020, there's less respiratory therapy travelers out there. I'm not sure, but we did have a slight decrease in the numbers this year for respiratory therapists. Following respiratory therapy, we have sonographers. Sonography, you were at 25 clinicians this year for TravCon 2023. Last year, around the same number, so just over 25 as well. Occupational therapists and assistants, you were at 26. Last year, you were just shy of 30 total. And then the new profession that we were adding into our numbers this year were surgical technicians. Surgical techs, you are at 49, so just shy of 50. And we did not take a look at your numbers last year. For number one, when I first started coming to TravCon, there was about 40 allied total. Of that, therapy was the large majority, and therapy would jump up about double every year. Since then, our radiology professions have really started taking off in the last 3 years or so. And so this year we actually have a tie for first place for the exact same even number. So physical therapists and assistants, we are at 67 for the year. Previously we were at 70, so a slight decrease, but around the same number. And then radiologic technologists, you all are at also 67. So we got a tie for first place. And rad techs, you were at 50 last year, so big jump up from 2022. And rad techs, you have really taken off. I'm trying to think of, I think 2021, it might have been just 30. So rad tech representation has really been increasing these last few years. So that's really excited to see. You guys are very much in need. And I think traveling is a great career, not only for all of Allied, but specifically rad techs. You guys are in a really good spot. So that is the numbers for TravCon 2023. Hoping to increase and continue to grow the Allied side for 2024. Again, 2023, we were at 16.3% using the old calculations. The new calculation was at 17.2%. So hopefully shooting for 18% or above for TravCon 2024. If you're Allied, invite your friends. If you're Allied recruiter, invite your Allied travelers. Would love to see them. It's the one time that you get to feel like an absolute rock star and get to see all your travel family as well at TravCon, as well as learn about the profession and the do's and don'ts and how to be successful and how to make that long-term career as a traveler. But everybody, I will see you in the next episode, and I will see you at TravCon 2024.
Thanks for listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life. You can find the full show notes below or at travcon.org. Please help us out by rating our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.